I understand like math to an extent, but once it starts to get complicated where you have to identify when you use one formula compared to another, like I'm not your girl. I'm not the soldier for you when we over there. Like I'm looking for guidance from a battle buddy or the instructor. And I have to, and then when you're teaching me, I have to get to that subject. I have to test on it ASAP, because otherwise it's going to be too much time for me to start thinking too deep into things, and now I'm getting it confused. Now I'm not even doing the right formula no more. Like it's trash. Like I hate being like that. I don't know what the problem is. Do I have ADHD? I don't know. Anyway, well, guys, it happened. For the first time ever in the history of me being a student here, I failed an exam. And it's crazy because the subject matter, in my opinion, was something that I didn't find difficult at all. It was actually a subject that I enjoyed. So the fact that I failed this exam completely blindsided my dumb ass. It was insane. And when people would ask what grade I got and I said I failed, they were like, stop playing. And I'm like, I wish I was playing. I'm not. I failed. Like, for real. You want to see it? You want to see the test? Like, I actually failed a freaking exam. So, the topic or subject matter in question is GIGU. Yeah, GIGU. I never would have thought that would have been the fucking exam to take my ass out.
Get out of here, man. Shit, I'm saying.
And that was the first time I failed a written exam at all. That's RAT backwards. It's RAT 107 basically. So look, be on the lookout for that, because it's like, I think the issue is that it's crazy. It starts going fast and furious when you're getting down to the end of the program. And if you're not paying attention, if you're not staying like locked in the way you need to stay locked in, it'll get you. It'll jump up and bite you. And I feel like the reason why I thought I was okay with this exam is because I understand the anatomy, I understand the body, I understand how our systems are supposed to work, right? But I think the issue is impatience. I think that I was tired of all the wordiness, and a ton of the questions on this exam were honestly about the actual positioning. Now, this is a thing that I did notice about myself in this program, is if you tell me to position a patient for a certain view, for a certain body part, I can absolutely put that person in that position with no issues, and then direct the tube in the right place. And I feel I'm really good with doing things hands-on. But if you ask me a question in a way that is like, what do you do with the...
I promise, like, and even it's been a weird these past few months.
But for some reason, if you ask me a question on a written exam pertaining to how you position a person, especially if it's way too damn wordy, I'm like, what the hell are you asking?
Okay, what? Is that my stripper name?
And it's like, I'm telling you from my experience, it's a cautionary warning or a cautionary tale. Don't check out. Don't get frustrated. Just get yourself used to dumbass wordy. No, just get used to long-winded wordiness. And it's like, it's basically just asking you something very simple. If you just think about some of the words that are mentioned, and the only thing about that, sometimes it would switch the words that you're used to using or hearing when you're talking about doing a certain view on a certain body part. So sometimes you'll hear instructors say that it's not meant to trick you, it's not meant to trip you up.
Halfway. Take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers.
And that's not exactly true, because I think this stuff is really very simple in my opinion, and I feel like they have to feel confident that you actually know what you're doing, so they kind of make it as confusing as they possibly can artificially. That's the only thing I can come up with, because this subject matter is not that difficult. Especially if you have a genuine interest in learning what you're doing, it's really not that difficult. I don't believe that, these things measure your intelligence. I think it just measures your aptitude for taking in tons and tons of knowledge very quickly and trying to then answer questions on an exam. I always find that I can run through things verbally and I can position a patient practically just fine. But when it came to these tests, sometimes it was just like, the way you're asking this question is very strange, and I think I understand what you're asking me, so here we go.
Please, please, please don't.
There are always multiple choice questions, and a lot of times the way that I look at multiple choice questions is it could be very beneficial to you, or very, like, it could trip you up. It could just trip you the hell up. It could be detrimental. That's what I want to say. You have to know your shit. You have to understand that certain things and certain words are interchangeable, and that you can be asked something in a different way than what you may have discussed. And then sometimes you have to recognize that you're being asked a question that is like directly verbatim out of the book. So it's like, you just have to be on alert. You have to pay attention. Here's a secret that I think may or may not work for some of you out there. I've noticed that one of my classmates, what they would do is use ChatGPT. They would use ChatGPT in a way that they would put whatever the subject matter is that we're learning at the time. They would plug it in or ask a question, a specific question, maybe about a chapter or a certain thing, and then have it like explained to them in a manner in which you would explain it to like a younger child, right? So that they can understand it baseline and get straight to the point of understanding all this information that they want us to understand in a matter of days. Because typically what's happening is you'll either have a very small gap in between when you first are learning a subject matter and then when you get tested on it, or you'll have these ginormous stretches in between the last time you went over the material in the classroom with an instructor to when you take the exam. And depending on how you are as an independent studier or learner, that could be, either way could be good or bad for you. I noticed that I was able to adapt with both, because there was one point when we had holiday block leave and we got into a subject matter or whatever, and we were gone for a whole 2 weeks and came back, had to take the test immediately, and I did fine. And then I think I might have looked over the material maybe once or twice the whole time I was home for the holidays with my family. And that's why the fact that I failed this exam in GIGU RAD 107, Big Bad RAD 107. No, like in RAD 107, stomped my ass out.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga! Fight back! Fight back!
Is because I think it was because I didn't expect the questions to be the way that they were. I didn't expect to have as many questions on positioning as there were. And there were, I always do really well with the questions that were like about an image. Like if you're pointing to an image and it tells you, they ask like, what is this here? Like, what is that there? What is this here? Like, I'm always really good at that. And it wasn't as many of those questions as I would have liked for there to be, because I think that would have saved my black ass. That would have saved my hide had there been more of those kinds of questions as opposed to the positioning questions, because those were like, I don't know what you're asking me.
I didn't get it.
I'm sorry, I checked out. And it's like, don't be like me. Don't check out. If you feel yourself checking out, you have to do a mantra. You have to find something that will help you stay grounded, help you stay tethered to what you're doing, because these tests are 50 questions. You get an hour and you want to do your best. Like, you want to just score those high scores. Like, do your best. And it's like, don't come here and fail any test.
Don't do that.
Okay? It's not worth the aggravation. And boy, was there some aggravation. Anyway, before I get into that real quick, I just want to say, I was highly surprised that, you know, I mentioned before about how we had to deal with physics 1, 2, and 3, and that's usually the subject matter that takes people out. I kind of thought that if I was to get tripped up, that would be the subject matter that would kind of trip me up. Only because the physics that they taught here, though, was kind of like modified. But anyway, I'm not that great with math at all, like equations. So physics has, like, you know, mathematic formulas. It has chemistry. There's a bit of chemistry. There's a lot of bit of chemistry, actually. That is not my strong suit. Like, I know enough, but it's just like, what? I balanced it. Why am I going back to balance it again? I don't know. Like, I don't like chemistry. I do not bang with chemistry. Me and chemistry ain't friends. Like,
You raggedy bitch.
I don't like that hoe and that hoe don't like me. But anyway, I just like, I understand like math to an extent, but once it starts to get complicated where you have to identify when you use one formula compared to another, like, I'm not your girl. I'm not the soldier for you when we over there. Like, I'm looking for guidance from a battle buddy or the instructor. And I have to, and then when you're teaching me, I have to get to that subject. I have to test on it ASAP, because otherwise it's going to be too much time for me to start thinking too deep into things, and now I'm getting it confused. Now I'm not even doing the right formula no more. Like, it's trash. Like, I hate being like that. I don't know what the problem is. Do I have ADHD? I don't know. Anyway, I thought that, you know, physics would be the one to do me in, and it was freaking GIGU, man. That didn't make no damn sense.
I could really quit. I'm done. I'm not subscribing to this life anymore. Yes, I am. Cause what I'm gonna do?
Like, that made no sense. I'm still, as I'm talking to you right now, I still do not understand how the frick I let that happen.
I didn't get it.
God. Anyway, moving right along to the subject matter of the aggravation that I mentioned. To that point, what I mean by that is, if you fail an exam, you then have to go up and speak to all the higher ups that are upstairs. Now, mind you, I said this is my only written exam that I have ever failed. I also failed a lab once, and it was one of the shorter labs, like I mentioned before. If you have a shorter lab, right, like let's say abdomen, I think that's what it was, it doesn't have a whole lot of views for you to do. So that means it's easier to fail. So if you get a 0 and then another 0 for some dumb mistake or an angle that shouldn't have been there, you fail the lab. And now you have to retest that whole song and dance. Horrible. So I had a 1 written exam, and then I actually failed a lab, which was like embarrassing enough. You know how I failed a lab? I screwed up on that lab exam when I was supposed to do a left lateral, or no, I was supposed to do a right lateral, and I did a left, and I never noticed that that's what the instructor wrote on the form, like the imaginary form that I'm getting. Like, say we simulate getting orders from a doctor to do the views, and when I took it, I never heard her say that it was a right lateral or whatever, so I thought that meant I chose. So because I was so focused on making sure I did the introduction and I hit all the points and said everything I said that I was supposed to say, and to, you know, get all my points in the beginning, I never looked at the imaginary form that had right lateral on it. And I just assumed that because she didn't actually say this is going to be a right lateral, that, you know, I thought that meant I could choose. And that's what I did. And so when you do the wrong side, that's an automatic 0. Like, that's the wrong part. And that's why I harped on before, like, making sure you're paying attention to things and make sure you're well versed in the rules. And just, I don't believe that people are, you know, here to just screw you over purposely, but this is your grade, and if you want to protect your GPA, like, you can't make the same mistakes that I have made, because I ended up with a B average. And if you are trying to do better than that, you have to be paying attention to everything, and you have to pretty much get A's or maybe high B's, obviously, on everything that you do. Like, in all the labs, you need to get mostly 100s, or like 90, 95s in order to maintain the A average, right? And there are so many, it's like you think you're good, and there will be so many freaking things that will trip your dumb ass up, and you end up with a 0, like I did. So do not repeat my mistakes. I didn't fail the program or anything. I still graduated. I made it. Like I said, I ended up with a B average, but I wish that my grade would have been higher. And I felt like some of these things I could have, you know, been more hyper focused on, but I just always felt so exhausted because it was just non-stop all the time. And
or to take that over and 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 over.
I don't do well with that as far as like being tested constantly. If it's just work and I actually can see that I'm helping somebody and that I'm getting results and that we're really servicing like soldiers or the public, and I'm actually can tangibly like for sure see that I am actually like helping somebody, it gives me all the energy to just go, because that was my entire career as a dental assistant / surgical dental assistant. It was nonstop. I worked in really intense environments where you're working really like long hours, but the payoff is that like you really helped someone, like you made someone feel better, or you're helping someone to get on the path of like better health, starting with their oral hygiene, because your mouth plays a major role in your overall general health. And not only does it play a major role, it's also an indicator of your overall general health. Don't believe me, look it up. But anyway, yeah, like just make sure we're human and it happens, and people get exhausted and they get tired, and there's family stuff, there's personal things going on, like, you know, there's all types of things that will happen day to day. Just block all the noise out as best you can and just focus on this program. You will get tired, you will get irritated, but just make sure you understand that everything that you're doing when you're going those labs, no matter what, you're doing this for you. You're doing this so that you can get something out of what you're doing. And the best thing that you can do is pay attention to every detail. Attention to detail is the key takeaway for this profession, for your life period. It's a good habit to have. As a soldier, as an x-ray tech, attention to detail. That's the piece of advice that I want to give. But anyway, so now that's 2 failures. So once that happens, that means now you have to go upstairs and talk to the department heads, so to speak, like of the services. So when they call it a tri, it's 3 different services coming together. That's Army, Navy, Air Force, right? So it's a tri-service, or tri-5, tri-60, yada, all that stuff. So yeah, you go up there and you talk to your head or counselor, and all 3 of them, you talk to them at different times, and all 3 of them literally ask you the same damn question. What happened? How did this happen? And I was so tired of answering that question. Like, I don't know, man, I'm a fucking dummy.
I'm not doing this.
What do you want me to say? But all jokes aside, it was almost like, I'm gonna be real with you, if I could give advice to them, it would be like, you know, I don't know about how other people feel about certain things, but when you're learning a subject matter when you're in this fast-paced environment, learning a subject matter that you have never, like, in a way that you have never learned before, like all this information crammed down into like 6 months, or each subject matter that you're like switching off to, you're getting 2 and 3 days to try to get a grasp on it, so and able to be tested on it. It's just, when you do, I just feel like when the way that they do that here is like, it almost feels like being like stomped into the mud after you're already down, or being kicked when you're already down, because you 3 are going to just keep asking me the same question, and I don't understand what the point of it was.
I didn't get it.
I don't understand why we couldn't all just talk at the same time instead of it being 3 different people, because in the time that you're doing this, you're pulling me away from the class, so that I can talk to 3 different people. I'm being pulled away from class, and they have already moved on to the next subject matter, so now I'm missing class time for that. I think that is so stupid. I feel like they could switch it to possibly like the bottom, like the late lunch hour, like, so make sure that the student goes and eats lunch, but then they have an appointment with all 3 at the same damn time, so that y'all all can come ask these questions, because they all kept asking the same question, and I felt like that was pointless.
That shit dumb.
I felt like it made no sense. I felt like I was wasting my time, and I started to get aggravated because it felt like a setup for failure, because you keep pulling me away from the classroom for 3 different people to ask me the same damn question. Meanwhile, I'm missing out on the instruction that's being given for the next subject matter. We don't have time. So the fact that that's the process, I felt like was backwards. I didn't feel like it was conducive for the student, because now you're making an uphill battle even more difficult. How did that make sense? I didn't get it.
I didn't get it.
But I guess that's why I'm a student and not a department head. I'm not an instructor or whatever. I just felt like as a student, I felt like the back and forth and going to see this person, it was embarrassing because you would have to get signed out of the class and everybody would know you got to talk to the counselor, because you failed. And it was like, that is so embarrassing. And I'm not easily embarrassed, but I don't like being put on blast. Those of you from Philly know exactly what that means. And then through the context clues, all y'all not from Philly, y'all can understand what I mean. But it just felt like you put in all the people's business, like people like me, because I wasn't the only one. It was like freaking, it was about, I want to say 8 or 9 of us that failed that exam. It was about 8 or 9 of us that failed that exam. Yeah, very weird. Anywho, and then people that normally get like certain types of grades, they scored a little bit lower. So the only thing I could think of is maybe what most of us focused on, we shouldn't have pertaining. I know that's how I felt looking at that exam. I'm like, I don't think I was focusing on the right things in order to be properly prepared for this test. And that was like the only time that I really felt that way. But anyway, back to the aftermath of failing that exam. I feel like that process could be worked out better so that it's not so embarrassing or like humiliating in a way. And I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but I can speak for Bodie. I can speak for Battle Boo Bodie, right? And I don't know, like I just felt like that could be handled better. And I don't think it's a good idea to pull the student from instruction to keep asking them the same damn question out of 3 different mouths. I don't know what that was supposed to do.
I didn't get it.
I don't know how that helped anybody, to be honest. Because then the next step was a reteach early in the morning for about an hour and 20 minutes. So you come to the schoolhouse early and you get that instruction, and then the next day you come once again in that same time frame to take the exam, but a different version of the exam. And that test, I felt like that shit was still fuckery.
Another type of fuckery.
I passed, but I felt like, what the fuck is this test? But that's neither here nor there. I do feel that I could do some more reading up on the subject matter, but I never had issues with any subject matter that had to do with anatomy or physiology, because I understand. I like that stuff. But enough of my ranting and raving. Just take my advice and just, whatever you feel you are not strong, or whatever you feel you're not understanding in the way that you need to be successful on your exams, just say something. Ask a battle buddy or a sailor, an airman or wingman, or ask a shipmate. They hate that. Ask a shipmate, like whoever, a battle buddy, anybody. Ask them to explain it to you, and if that's still not working, just go to the instructor. The instructors here are willing to help you. A lot of them are very enthusiastic about empowering and uplifting the students. So yeah, take advantage of your resources. And then they have something here called Study Skills. It's basically like a study hall, like self-study for you to have a quiet place if that's what you need. Do not fail GIGU, okay? It's like so at the tail end. It just felt so dumb. My God, it felt so dumb. But anyway, yeah, you guys are great. You guys keep hitting me up. You keep finding me and asking me questions. I'm enjoying answering those questions. I hope the answers that I'm giving are helpful, because I want to give good information, and whatever I don't know, I always try to find out for you. So that's it. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you like this video, if you like what I'm doing, and share with your friends. Anybody who's considering joining the military for a specific type of job, especially if it's radiology, send the video to your friends, and whatever questions you have, feel free to even comment below, or continue to inbox me on Instagram or even TikTok. I'm totally okay with that. But that's the video. That's all I have to say about this subject matter. I think the next video I do is going to be about FTX. Yeah. But yeah, once again, like, subscribe, and ask your questions. I love it. And share this video with a friend. All right, Battle Boos, peace.